Hey everyone, this is Jake. So today we're talking about the size and scope of government. Now, Aristotle, when he was talking about things, he was talking for a smaller government. And it makes sense if you think about what Greece was. Greece was very mountainous, very little arable land, and it wasn't all in one location, which meant they had to be in these smaller city-states. And because of this, they're going to form in different ways. And obviously, Aristotle is also coming from the perspective of Athens had really been destroyed by its own democracy, which he saw was getting too big. And without necessarily recognizing the problem was the pure democracy itself. Because when you have too many people giving their opinions and they all have equal weight and they all have the right to vote, this creates problems because it's very difficult to get people to agree on anything. When we're trying to go out to eat, having five people trying to decide where to go and just be able to compromise on that is hard enough, let alone do that with a governmental structure. Okay? Now, the physical size isn't as big of a deal for ancient Rome, but it still becomes a problem. And the problem is because of distance. Because Rome was able to take over a massive amount of Europe, but the breakdown started to occur because of communications lags and problems. And also because, you're having one central location that's dictating to everybody else who doesn't have the same rights. Now, today, we don't have this issue. Our government is not limited by physical space anymore, as long as we're talking about the earth. And the reason for that is we have instantaneous communications. You can get on your computer and you can talk to someone from around the world and be in a class with someone who you've never actually spoken with in person. And the reason you can do that is because of new technology. And you can travel around the world within the span of 2 days. And if you take a car, you can drive anywhere within the United States in a couple of days. You can fly anywhere within about 3 hours. And this is also one of the reasons why we're seeing less of regional differences. Back when I was younger, I'm from Georgia, you'd hear a lot more people saying y'all and fixin' and those types of things. But you're hearing it less and less. And one of the reasons is because the culture is not regionalized anymore. It's been nationalized. And so people are becoming more and more similar to each other. You're starting to see less and less of these differences because of the physical space being so much smaller. The only way this would actually become a problem again is if we're going over to Mars or different places out in space, and then the physical distance becomes the issue, right? If you look at what happened with America when it splits off from England, it started out the same, but over time it shifted because the breakdown in communication, we started speaking differently than people in Britain, and also started to think differently because they're kind of isolated on their own. That's not the issue anymore in the modern world. But you do have an issue in terms of scale and intrusiveness of the government. So a key issue right now, of course, is China. So if you look at what's going on in Hong Kong, Hong Kong had been treated differently since China had taken over in the 90s. And now they're starting to put the clamps down and trying to make China just like everybody else, or Hong Kong just like everybody else in China. And this is creating lots of problems and lots of people getting really panicky over what's happening with their government and what are they not allowed to do, what are they not allowed to say. So the issue is going to be about how intrusive is your government. And the United States limits it in a sense because we have 435 representatives, we have 100 senators, and we've got one president. And because of this, it limits our scale. So it does create kind of the smaller republic situation. And not to mention, we also have local government and we also have state government, which also break things down even further. So population is never the problem. The problem is going to be how people are treated. And as long as the government can do what they're supposed to do and take care of their citizens without being too intrusive, then there's no problem. And the United States, for the most part, you're free to be able to do a lot of things. Now, as Hobbes said, it's not absolute freedom. It's not anarchy because, and if everybody's free to do whatever they want, then everybody will go kill everybody. And that, of course, as he said, is not true freedom. So, or actually further, true liberty. So these are the kind of things that we need to be thinking about and recognize that we don't have the same limitations as our ancestors. Our limitations are what we do in terms of controlling our population.